yes, welcome back to another video, guys. That's right, today it is the end of the month video. That's right, we're through February 2023, and here I am to do my annual video at the end of every month or at the beginning of the next, where I talk about all of the movies I watched for the first time throughout the month that's just gone. So they are going to be just first time watches. I don't do rewatches here. But I do a lot of rewatching as well, and if you're interested, of course, just go follow me on Letterboxd. I literally log everything on there. And I don't do TV shows and games here either, because we'd be here for absolutely hours if I talked about everything I watched, played, and rewatched, whatever. Anyway, I think this might be my busiest month ever, and I've only got just over half an hour to do this video because it's race weekend and the practicing's on, so, you know, I'm trying to smash this video out before that starts. So I give myself very little short time here, and this might be my busiest month, so we're going to go pretty quick on some of these movies. But anyway, let's get started. The first film up I watched was The Fabelmans. That's right, Steven Spielberg's new movie finally come out in the UK, and I was so excited to see it, and I've got to say, it didn't disappoint. This retreading of his past and seeing what he went through as a kid, because I believe the majority of this movie is set on his childhood, and seeing his passion for filmmaking grow and where it come from was absolutely fascinating. And the struggles he went through with his family along the journey and the relationship he had with his other family members was absolutely fascinating. It made for a beautiful movie. Some of the cinematography was incredible. Michelle Williams, outstanding in this film. And great score as well, and those final few scenes were just absolutely mesmerising to watch. I thought this film was great. I think West Side Story from him was a little bit better a couple of years back, but this was still really good. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Then we have You People, a brand new Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy film that went to Netflix. And personally, I really hated this film. I didn't laugh once. I thought the humour was very patronising. Now, it isn't my type of humour, but I found it very much like, you know, black people cool in this movie and white people embarrassing. And it really made us look embarrassing, I think, for a lot of it. And, you know, it was just very, I don't know, I just couldn't get on board with it. It was very much like the parents, Jonah Hill's parents, come across really pathetic. And, like, everyone on Jonah Hill's side seemed pathetic, and everyone on Eddie Murphy's side seemed really cool. And it was like, yeah, this is great. I love this. I'm very much up for, the, you know, Jonah Hill's side being the clumsy lot and stuff. But, you know, why don't we actually put some jokes in here? It just felt more patronising more than anything. So, yeah, I didn't have a problem with the direction. It's just they didn't seem to do anything with it. So, yeah, You People I really disliked. I didn't think anyone was very good in it as well. Eddie Murphy was so stale. Jonah Hill was annoying. Also, that CGI kiss at the end, what was that about? I'm going to give this film 3.5 out of 10. Then we have Shotgun Wedding. I don't know why I keep watching these movies, because I watched her last film last year, Marry Me, with Owen Wilson. I watched it mostly for the actress who played Stifler's mum. She was in this, and she was kind of funny. And, you know, this film, it acknowledges what it is. It's fine. I actually laughed a couple times. It is as low standard as you'd expect. It's very cheap looking, very poorly acted. It looks like a streaming film, which it is. But yeah, Shotgun Wedding was what it was. It's nothing that good at all, to be honest. But I feel like the general audience is probably going to enjoy this one because it's switch off fun, and they're aware of it, the filmmakers. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Then we have 1941. Yeah, I do want to be able to say I've watched all of Steven Spielberg's movies. And this had John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd in for a start. And I was like, my God, the Blues Brothers in a Steven Spielberg movie. And it had a whole bunch of other great cast members as well in this. John Candy, who I absolutely love. And there are a few other really, really good acts in it. And I hate shitting on Spielberg because I love the majority of his movies. But this one was just not good. It was a complete mess. I didn't know what it was going for. I didn't know what it was doing. And it looked really, really over the top for me. And Spielberg never does that. He's always very good at setting scenes. And this one for me was just too busy, too much going on, too many characters, and just edited together really poorly where I didn't know who I should be focusing on. I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 10. Then we got EO. This is one of the foreign films going up for Best International Movie at the Oscars, and I wanted to be able to watch them all. And this one here captured my curiosity the most out of all the ones I hadn't seen going up for the award, because a film about just a donkey. and seeing the world through a donkey's eyes. But it was actually very, very good. Just because the donkey, it is just there. He isn't in no mind or reason really part of the story. He is a witness like the audience for the majority of it. There are a couple bits where obviously he gets a bit involved, but the majority of it is he's a member of the audience. You're going through this journey, and it's a fascinating way to tell a movie. A story in a movie, and I thought that it worked really well. Again, it's on a technical aspect. There are so many things they do well with this movie. Like, the cinematography is gorgeous, and I thought that a lot of the in terms of transitions, how they got from one place to the other was done really well. And it's, like, quite admirable, actually, how well they pulled some of that off, because any other director would just cut and he'd just be in a new location. It's really well done how they got him to the next places. And the whole time you felt like you was watching a proper film, not just a movie about a donkey. And it is a proper film, don't get me wrong, I don't mean to sound like that, but when you describe it to someone, it's a movie about a donkey's journey. People go, what, Eddie Murphy from Shrek? Anyway, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was really good. And we got Scars of Dracula, so I got the next Universal Monsters Dracula set in my collection, so I wanted to finish up the Christopher Lee ones before I started watching those, so I blitzed through them this month. Scars of Dracula was definitely better than some of them, but then again, it takes too long to get to Dracula. I thought the interesting characters don't seem to stick about again, which is a common occurrence with these movies. And I loved Christopher Lee as Dracula in these films. I love him as Dracula in these films. But these Dracula films for me overall have been very disappointing. I was expecting these incredible horror movies, but they haven't been that for me. 6.5 out of 10. Then I watched The Sixth Sense. Yeah, I hadn't watched this movie before. We were coming up to Knock at the Cabin. I think this might have been just after Knock at the Cabin. Yeah, I think I just watched Knock at the Cabin. I was like, right, I've got to watch some other M. Night Shyamalan-Maloo's. And I was like, I've got to watch this one because I've never seen it. It's like his most famous one. And I can confirm it's definitely his best movie. I love the character work between Bruce Willis and this kid, and the mum as well. I thought it was all just really intriguing, and I was very curious as to where it was going, because very paranormal stuff I don't normally get on with, but I was like, do you know what, I'm here for it, it's M. Night Shyamalan, let's do it. And, you know, the I see dead people line come up, and I was like, I know that's pretty cool. And then the twist happened at the end, and I didn't see this one coming. I must have been very gullible, because now I look back at it, and it's incredibly obvious. But I got to the end, I was like, damn, wow. So yeah, this is definitely M. Night Shyamalan-Maloo's best film. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Sticking with M. Night Shyamalan-Maloo, we got The Village. This one wasn't as good. I got incredibly bored throughout a lot of this one, and I found a lot of the character work over the top because it was kind of a very lull setting. I was very excited to see what this monster was, and I was very disappointed with it and sort of the twist at the end. Didn't work as well for me. Bryce Dallas Howard was really good in it, but yeah, this film is just incredibly average for me. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. And we got True Lies. Another director who I'm trying to get through is James Cameron, and I'm nearly there. I've just got his Piranha 2 film to do. This was so much fun. This was just such a fun action movie. It's a shame because James Cameron annoys me in interviews and stuff as a person. And I still find it quite questionable that he has 3 of the top 4 highest grossing films ever. But every time I watch one of his movies, I have a damn blast with it. And I suppose a lot of you are probably going, well, that's why he's there. Yeah, you're probably right. I can just think of a lot of better films. But anyway, I love Terminator 2 and Aliens. Them films are fucking incredible. But this film, True Lies, was also really good fun. Arnie giving one of his better performances. And Jamie Lee Curtis is so good in this movie. I love her and everything. She's just fantastic. She eats up screen time. And it's really fun. The action sequences are really good. I'm going to give this film 7.5 out of 10. It was really good fun. Then we have Amistad, another Steven Spielberg movie. This one here was really good, just seeing, you know, what these poor slaves were being put through back then. Whenever you watch one of these historical movies like this, you realise how shitty human beings were and some human beings are still shitty today when it comes to the colour of someone's skin, and it's fucking embarrassing, to be honest. But anyway, you watch this movie and you go, wow, okay, there were some good people about back then, and it's a very touching story. And in terms of set production stuff, production design, the costumes and the makeup, that stuff all aced. Looked brilliant. It looked so good, this movie. It's just a shame that it was too long and there's some big pacing issues with it for me. But overall, you have a really great movie here, which is just bogged down by a lot of other stuff. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Still a good film, definitely. Then, where are we at? We have Critters 2. Taking a complete U-turn. We're going from some like really good movies here to Critters 2. I watched the first Critters like 4 months ago, and I've got the DVD box set of 1 through 4, and I keep meaning to go back to them. So here we go, I've gone back to them. And I enjoyed the first Critters, but man, Critters 2 was bad. Like, I hated this whole, there's a bounty hunter from space here, and I was like, why? Why are we doing this? Why not just have the critters get in a different type of building? It was a very similar location as well, which I hated. The thing that I love about the 2 Gremlins films is the first one's just in like a house, and the second one's in a big office building and mall and stuff, and it's like, that's cool, we've changed up scenery. Here it felt like the same thing, but they've chucked a bounty hunter, and it was really stupid. I really couldn't get on board with it because the acting was so bad. And don't get me wrong, I don't expect the acting to be great in these kind of movies, but my god, it was so bad. Yeah, Critters 2, I really don't have much more to say on it. It's not a very good movie. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Triangle of Sadness. Ah, man, this film here, it's going up for Best Picture. I was like, I've got to watch it. And it's such a cool movie. I actually, when I first watched it, I was like, that was good, but I need to process this. And the more I processed it, normally films go down for me when I really think about them more. But this one went up. I was like, do you know what? I kind of respect it. You know, a boat that crashes and a few people become shipwrecked, the survivors. And it was such a unique movie like that. It was so interesting to watch because of the way the story was told. It doesn't happen at the start and you don't spend the whole time with them on the island. I like the way this film was structured. Its 3 acts were great. You had the first act where you can see how awkward these characters are and how interesting their dynamics can be. And then you got the second act, which is the pure build-up to it, which is great. They're all at this restaurant eating fancy food and the ship's going like this. And then the final act is actually on the island and you can see these clashes of personality. And it was just so well done, and I really like the ending, the open ending type thing. I love that kind of stuff, and the film makes you think. It's a clever movie, and I can see why it's going up for Best Picture. I don't think it'll win, nor do I really want it to win, because I prefer some of the other films there. But, yeah, really, really good movie. And, of course, R.I.P. to the actress in it who died recently. You know, very young, very sad. But this film was really good. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Then we got Piranha, the first one. I watched this because I know I'm going to get around to watching the second one at some point. Still haven't done it. Yeah, this was okay, to be honest. I was really distracted when I was watching it, if I remember correctly. This is a film which, if it was a better film, I think I'd say, yeah, I have to rewatch this one to give it more time of day. But yeah, this was one of those films I just chucked on in the background somewhere, and it was fine. It was enjoyable. There were a few good kills. You could tell they were trying to do their Jaws, I guess. Might have even come out before Jaws, actually. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's fine. Give it 6 out of 10. Where are we at? We're at City Heat. City Heat, which is of course a Clint Eastwood movie. And you know, I didn't mind this one too much. It was okay. A lot of these Clint Eastwood ones tend to blur together a bit for me. Especially when it's just him moping about doing his own thing in the time, modern times. I much prefer it when he does his westerns or something a little bit out there. But yeah, I had a good time on this one. He was fun. There was some cool characters in it. Yeah, City Heat. I'll give that a 6.5. It was fine. And we got The Help, which is a film which has been sitting on my shelf in my hallway for a bit, and it's got a range of great actors in it. And Emma Stone's in it, of course. Love Emma Stone, so I was like, I'm gonna watch this. And again, this film was really, really great. Seeing this story of these, you know, again, in a horrible time for people with, you know, colour, and it's these films always kind of get to me because I hate, it's always hard to watch them, I think, and look back and see how shitty people were. And as I said, there are still people about today but back then it was just so, you know, dominant, and it was and it's nice seeing a character like Emma Stone's character, because I know it's based on a true story, and someone who was sticking up for them, and it's a beautiful film. There's a lot of great moments to it. The script is great, and there's some really intense moments, especially involving Bryce Dallas Howard's character. There she's again, another great performance from her here. And yeah, it's her character is just she was probably the best character in it in a way, because every scene she was in, you were just watching her to see what horrible thing she'd do next. She's a real nasty bit of work. Yeah, this film is so good. It really hit me. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Then we got The Swimmers, a film which was going up for Best British Film at the BAFTAs. So I watched it, and I thought this one was a bit overrated. I'm not going to lie, I didn't really connect with it too much. The main character was great, and her drive to get to the Olympics. But the story itself, it's an incredible true story, of course, but at the same time, I feel like the film didn't do the best job at blending it into, like, how it was edited in terms of how she got from place to place. And, yeah, I don't know, I just felt a bit uninterested in points of it. I don't know what it was about this one. It just wasn't one of those films that just didn't click with me. But it was still good. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10, but I didn't connect with this one as much as I thought I would or wanted to. Okay. Then we got Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. Which of course was also going up for Best British Film. Starring Emma Thompson, who I absolutely love. And I forget the name of the guy in it, but he was going up for Best Up and Coming Actor at the BAFTAs as well. And this was a weird movie. I wasn't planning on watching it, to be honest, till it went up for this award. Strange movie, seeing Emma Thompson get up to some of these things. Not something I ever thought I'd see her do at her age now. But it played for an interesting movie, because obviously stuff like this goes on in the world, and it's a very interesting dynamic, and you see these two personalities, someone who's incredibly confident and someone who's not confident, mix. And when they keep going back to see each other, you see that relationship evolve, and some of the things they do it's very interesting. It's an interesting movie. It's very different, and I've got respect for it, but I'm not sure it's one I'll watch again. But I did like it. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Then we have The Great Gatsby. That's right, I'd never seen The Great Gatsby, which might surprise people, because I love the Moulin Rouge. And of course it's got Leonardo DiCaprio in, who I love, and Tobey Maguire's in it. And the director's latest film, Elvis, I also really liked. So I'm a fan of this director. And I thought, you know what, it's about time I watched The Great Gatsby. And I've got to say, I had such a blast with this movie. This director, I love him. His style, it's big, it's bold, and it's bright. And it's got this character to it, where everything feels like a party, which is why I think the Moulin Rouge works so well, because that whole movie feels like a party. Elvis, the majority of it, until you get to the depressing stuff with Elvis, that all feels like a party. And this film opens with one of the greatest parties you're ever going to watch on screen. And I love that style. I love that energy that he brings to his films. And DiCaprio kills it. Tobey Maguire, I'm going to say something a bit controversial here. I'm not a big fan on him, to be honest. I think he's a decent actor, but he's never blown me away. Yeah, that's right, not even in the Spider-Man films. When I think of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, he's one of the weakest parts for me. But here, he gives his career best performance so far that I've seen from him. He's better in this than he was in Spider-Man, or Babylon, or Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or whatever other film I've seen with him in. I thought he was great, and I thought the runtime was fantastic. The story was just so well done. The ending kind of caught me off guard, a few bits of it. So yeah, great film, 8 out of 10. Then we have The Whale. Yeah, I didn't review this properly on the channel because we were just so late in the UK here. I feel like most people have either seen it or seen reviews of it, so I didn't bother. But The Whale, you get to see one of the best performances ever from Brendan Fraser. He is incredible in this movie. And I thought that the actress in it, his carer woman, also gave an incredible performance. And I thought Sadie Sink was pretty good in it as well, showing that she can do a lot more than just Stranger Things after that ends. The film itself, it really does a good job at making you aware of the positions that characters are in, and you do feel sorry for them. I've seen this film getting a lot of flack in some areas, and I can understand why. I'll say this, there's one issue I had with the film, and that was the script. I thought the script really needed brushing up. There is, like, especially because this guy's an English teacher, there are just words that he uses in it, and it's like, He like keeps using like certain words like "you are amazing," "your mind is amazing," this blah blah, and it's like amazing. He's an English teacher. Surely he could come up with something a bit better. Anyway, so there's a few little issues there with the scripts, I think, but other than that, this film is so good at making you feel uncomfortable about what this man is putting himself through. And it's a hard topic because obviously there's a lot of people in the world who go through this and they can't help it. But it is there to make you also aware of that, I think. And it does quite a good job. And you really do care for this guy. And at the end, you are very, very sad to see the direction his life's gone when you hear about his past and what's made him become this and what's built him up to do this. So yeah, I think The Wow was absolutely phenomenal in some areas. And then it was just, it needed brushing up in other areas. But I'm still going to give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a very, very good movie. Then we got Ghost Rider. I one day I will be able to say I've watched every Marvel film ever, and this was on Disney Plus, so I was like, I'm going to watch it. This film has its fans, I know. It's Nicolas Cage. People like Nicolas Cage even when he's doing terribly. I like the character of Ghost Rider. You know, I've read a few comics of him in. I liked him when he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Cool looking character. But this film sucked. Like, so bad. Like, Nicolas Cage was so bad at it. Everyone else was terrible. I like the old Ghost Rider on a horse. He was cool. That was one of the only times I was like, oh, damn, that's pretty awesome. Oh, this film was so bad. Like, the dialogue was terrible. All the characters sucked. The lighting was awful. It made it look like exactly what it was, an early 2000s piece of shit. How the hell did this get a sequel? God, awful film. I'm going to give it like 2.5. I thought it was terrible. Right. Seven Psychopaths. I really like this director. Of course, he's done In Burgess, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and the new film, which is more than, I think it stands a good chance of winning Best Picture this year, Banshees of Inisherin. Loved all 3 of those movies. This was on a streaming service, so I'm like, I'm going to watch it, and I had a really, really good time with it. I always forget his name. Sam Rockwell was so good in this movie. I love Sam Rockwell. And also, I adore Colin Farrell. Like, he's one of my favourite actors ever. He's just had one of the best years ever in film. You know, Batman, Banshees, and 13 Lives. That's the one. You know, also just such a fantastic actor. Those two are so good in this movie. It's unbelievable. And this film itself is so well made. It's a very interesting story, and those final 20 minutes are just brilliant. Seven Psychopaths, I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10 too. Really good film. Ophelia. Yeah, I don't know. I was scrolling on Amazon, I think it was, and this film popped up, and I was like, oh, Daisy Ridley. Let's give it a go. It was the only Daisy Ridley film I hadn't seen, so I was like, I might as well watch it. So like I said, I've seen all her films. It was fine. There's a lot of good things about this film, like, again, the set designs and the costumes and stuff. I love it. I'm a sucker for all that stuff with period pieces. It just looks fantastic. But the story itself wasn't super interesting. I got a bit fed up by the end. But Daisy Ridley gives one of her better performances, actually, I'd say. She has a habit in her movies of having, like, 1 or 2 scenes in each film where she comes across really wooden. She didn't really get that in this one from her, to be fair. So, yeah. 5.5 out of 10. It was okay. Dracula AD 1972, probably the best Dracula film I've seen recently. Christopher Lee's great. Peter Cushing is back. I love Peter Cushing as well. When him and Christopher Lee are on screen together, 9 times out of 10, it's magic. They both feed off each other so well. And yeah, you get quite a bit of good Dracula action in this one. It's the most interesting story. The time jump, of course, to modern times was really cool, and seeing how Dracula interacts today. So, yeah, this was definitely one of the better ones. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Knock at the Cabin. There it is. There's the new M. Night Shyamalan movie. I've reviewed it properly here on the channel. I thought it was good. It didn't do anything that blew me away by any means, but it was fine. It didn't really do anything that annoyed me like M. Night Shyamalan does sometimes. I thought it was a good time. Dave Bautista was really, really good in the film. Gives a great performance. And yeah, there wasn't really a shocking ending to it, like with the twists and stuff. So yeah, it was a good film. I'll give it 6.5 out of 10. Can't remember what I gave it in my review. The Post, Steven Spielberg. I was so bored during this film, like so bored. Again, there's a lot of good stuff about it. The performances from Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep are fantastic. But man, I was falling asleep during this one, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. Genuinely, I was so bored. 5 out of 10. There's a lot of good things about this movie. There was, but I just can't. I think that's the worst thing a film can be, is boring. Legion of Superheroes, DC's new animated film. I tried to watch these when they come out. It was better than the Green Lantern one they just done last year, but you know, there's a lot of shoddy dialogue and Supergirl falling in love with a Brainiac clone or something. I wasn't sure about that. The voice work was okay, the animation was what it was, but the story felt rushed and it was very near. 4.5 out of 10. Plane. I saw Plane. Yeah, I thought this film was going to be awful. I don't trust Jared Butler doing movies, to be honest, but I thought this film would be terrible, and it just wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was a very, very good little fun movie. It got a little bit too cheesy at times, but I liked the tone it had from the majority of the movie. And it seemed like they'd done their research with the plane stuff, like they were talking plane language, and it was like, yeah, this all feels natural to me. It feels real. So Plane, I had a good time with it. I'm going to give that a 6.5 out of 10, which is a lot more than I thought I'd be giving it. Infinity Pool, this stars Mia. I forget her name, but she's been in a lot of horrors lately, and she's always killing it. And again, she kills it here. This film was so interesting. It really made you think about what was going on. It confused the hell out of me at multiple points. But I think on a rewatch, I'm really going to connect with it even more. But I did connect with it the first time around quite a bit. I thought it was really well done. I like the characters a lot. And I like the dynamics of where they start and where they progress to and then where they end up. And on top of that, the technical aspects with this film I also thought was brilliant. Like, it looked fantastic. The cinematography was gorgeous. And I also really, really liked the music in it. I thought it done a good job with the score. Infinity Pool was pretty good, actually. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, I reviewed this fully here on the channel. I've done a Letterboxd review of it, I've done a relay review of it. So I'm kind of bored of talking about this film because it's not really that good. It's a CGI mess of a movie. It feels like complete filler. It loses all the charm of the previous Ant-Man films. MODOK looks terrible, but there are some redeeming things. It has its fun moments for sure. Kang is pretty cool. So, yeah, and it's Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd's always a gem. So, I'm going to be kind again. I'm going to give it a 5, middle of the road. Then we have Pale Rider. Western from Clint Eastwood. It's been a while since I had a Western from him now, and I'm really looking forward to getting some more of his Westerns. I know that I've got Unknown coming up, which I'm very excited to watch. Yeah, this was good. It had a cool little story. Clint Eastwood is as badass as always in it. I love his hat in this one. He just looks so cool in it. And there's a couple really cool shootout moments with it, but it didn't blow me away like some of the others. So I'm going to give this one I'm going to go 6.5, which might be a bit harsh. I noticed this one actually had some really good reviews. I think I might have been in the minority a bit on this one. And then my very good friend JB Powell, if you're watching, I watched Brian and Charles. I know this was his favourite film last year. It was going up for Best British Film at the BAFTAs, so I watched it for that. And yeah, it's a good little story, this one, actually. Very touching. I really like the main guy in it. He's from Afterlife, I think that's where I knew him from. And the actual robot himself was quite funny. I like the humour around it. And the relationship they have is interesting, how the robot grows up so quick and becomes like a moody teenager. I really like that. And just seeing the relationship around the village and stuff with him and the robot and how certain people reacted to it was really cool. It didn't blow me away, but I had a really fun time. But it's very sweet, very innocent. I'll give it 7.5 out of 10. Then we have Tremors 3. So yeah, after I watched Critters, I was like, I need to watch some Tremors or something because that was so shit. And Tremors actually does quite a good job with its sequels, I think. This Tremors 3 was fine. The second one I wasn't a huge fan of when I watched that ages ago. What the third one does really well is it recaptures the magical feeling of the first one in terms of you feel like you're with this core group and you're alone in the desert. And I think it does a good job there. I say that I want these films to mix it up a bit like Gremlins, but Tremors is a bit harder because they're underground. So I think they've done as good of a job they could with this one. It wasn't that bad, shockingly. I thought I was ready to hate this film, to be honest, but it was actually quite enjoyable. I like the fact that this one has flying ones in, they were a little bit over the top. I don't like that too much. They're walking in the second one and they're flying. Not a big fan on that. But I like the main guy in it with a moustache. He's fun. Yeah, I'll give this film a 5.5 out of 10. It was actually alright. The Satanic Rites of Dracula. Oh, this film was so disappointing. After the 1972 one, I was really excited. Peter Cushing's still in this one. This is the last one with Christopher Lee. I was hoping as it's his last one, they go out in a bang, but I was just really bored throughout most of it, to be honest. I did not like any of the characters. Dracula is not in it enough. Again, Peter Cushing seems to be... He wasn't on screen as much as I wanted. I just really didn't really care for this one much. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It just was so painfully average for me, this one. And it's such a shame because it was the last one with Christopher Lee in. Somebody I used to know, this film went straight to Netflix, directed by Dave Franco, because this is the best he can do after his brother absolutely ruined their careers. It was alright, this one. It was just one of those typical throwaway Netflix films. The love story in it was interesting, I guess. The dynamic of it, I didn't like the way it was set up. It felt very false. Like, there's no way that this person will come back into your life and she get this role at your wedding. Also, she's the wedding photographer. She's filming everything on an iPhone. It's like, come on. Really? I'd be pissed. I'd be like, get a proper camera, please. Not saying that the cameras on the iPhones aren't good. They're very good. But, like, come on. It's a wedding. That's not my biggest gripe with the movie. But, you know, there's a lot of issues with this film. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's very self-aware. It's just a throwaway Netflix Prime movie, whatever it was on. 5.5 out of 10. The Outsiders. So, this will be in my next pickups video. I was so lucky to get that beautiful 4K box set of The Outsiders in a CEX for £22. Amazing. So I brought it home, I watched it, and, you know, it's one of these coming-of-age stories. It had, has a fantastic cast in it with, you know, the kid from The Karate Kid. It has a young Tom Cruise in. So many great actors in it. And I'd heard it compared to Stand By Me and heard it was a really good coming-of-age film. And wow, I really loved this movie. I thought it was really good. I loved the journey it went on. These kids, you know, how horrible... you know, some of their childhoods were, and this area they've been brought up in. It really went further than I expected with, you know, the one kid sort of dying, and then a fire, and then a hospital scene, and then a big fight at the end. I was like, wow, this is just immense. And I thought it was just a really well-made movie, a really good story. I don't think the story would have worked as well if the characters weren't written as well. And the exchange of dialogue, I thought it was just so fantastic. I'll be revisiting this film a lot. It was really good. It's on the level of Stand By Me, if I'm being honest. I thought it was really good. 8 out of 10. Tremors 4. Tremors 4 is a prequel. And do you know what? This is the best one since the first one. Because, again, it does that core group of characters. And this is the best core group we've had yet. It takes a guy with a moustache who's a badass. And it makes him kind of weak in this one. Because it's his ancestor and he don't like guns and stuff. And... there's no flying ones, there's no walking ones, this is just the Tremors underground, and it is just like the first movie. They're stuck on rocks and they need to get back to the town and kill them. And it's so much fun. If you like the first one, you can have a good time with this one. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Tremors film sequels are not that bad. I can't believe it. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Then we have Make My Music. This is the last Disney film I had to watch. So yeah, there we go. I've now watched every single animated Disney film in my Disney lineup here. It's just basically a load of clips of different things put together. The animation was very cheap, but you know, at the time this came out, obviously Disney didn't have loads of money and there were more important things going on in the world. I really don't have loads to say about this one, to be honest. I don't even know how to rate it, because some of the mini stories were entertaining, some of them weren't. So, on that basis, I'm going to go 4 out of 10, because it didn't really feel like much of a movie, but it had some entertaining moments to it. The Favourite, yes. So, I've seen one of this director's other films, The Lobster, and I watched it like 4 or 5 years ago, before I really appreciated these kind of more art house films. And he's got a new film coming out, which I'm very intrigued about. So, I was like, I should watch The Favourite, because this one went out for Best Picture, very well liked, and... got Emma Stone, love Emma Stone. Olivia Colman's in it as well, and Rachel Weisz as well. And by the way, all three of them are equally incredible, actually. Or maybe Olivia Colman stole the show, actually, I'd say. But they were all fantastic. But my God, I love this movie, and it made me want to revisit The Lobster, damn it. But yeah, this was so good. This was such a good film. Like, the sets and stuff were beautiful, and the dynamic between the characters was just fantastic. Seeing them constantly bicker and argue over pathetic things, and seeing which one of them would take charge in certain scenes, and how they throw each other under the bus. It was such a cool dynamic. It was so well done. I loved it, and I loved the ending. I loved the outcome. It was just such an interesting movie to watch, and I already want to rewatch it. It was really, really fantastic. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Then we have The Legend of Seven Golden Vampires. I'm going to go so quick on this one because I have very little to say. Yeah, it finishes off the Dracula films. Christopher Lee's not in it as Dracula. They got someone else, but Peter Cushing's still here. It has its fun moments, this one, actually. I definitely preferred it over the Satanic Rites. There's some very cool moments in it. Peter Cushing is a bit of a badass in moments in this one. And the ending itself was actually really fun. And I think it is a good ending. I just wish they got Christopher Lee for it. 6.5. It wasn't that bad. Then we got Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This is one of those classics which I've been hearing so much about. And there were elements about it which I loved. Especially the ending. And the relationship between the two leads was also great. And I loved the look of this movie. The cinematography was really nice. But the film didn't just quite hook me as much as I thought it would, considering it's such a classic. I don't know what it was about it, because I love Westerns. You know, it's got Robert Redford in. There's a lot of great elements to this movie, but for some reason I just didn't connect with it as much as I wanted to. Strange one, because I really did like a lot of elements about it. I think I definitely need to give it a rewatch at some point, but for now, I'm going to go with 7.5 out of 10, which probably a bit too harsh in some people's eyes. And we got Hellboy. This is one of those films which I definitely saw when I was younger, but I just can't remember it. Yeah, this was really fun. I like the character work between him and John Hurt's character. I thought that was cool. The look of the movie was fantastic, and Hellboy himself was really cool. The action sequences were fun. I think where this film suffered was a weak villain. Just didn't care about the villains at all. I think they kind of sucked, in fact. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to watching the next one. So I'm going to give Hellboy a 7.5 out of 10. Good little fun comic book movie there. Dark Horse Comics, I think. Okay, we've got 4 left. Critters 3, dog shit. Absolutely piss poor movie. I really hated it. I don't know how I'm going to get through these last 2 Critter films, because this was just dreadful. I've already forgotten like 90% of this movie. Well, it has a young Leonardo DiCaprio in, which was funny. There's like this funny scene where there's a kid on the balcony, and his sister's like 10 feet away from her, and you can see the back of a Critter's head. He pushes pushes a guy off the balcony who jumps in front of it first, and the kid starts to fall backwards. And this girl, who in the shot before was established to be quite far away, all of a sudden grabs his leg, and it's like, you can tell that just no thought or effort went into this. It was just like, throw these monsters at characters and people go, yay, look, it's fun. But when it is shot that poorly and just to that level of stupidity, it's not fun. Which is why it's funny that I've been watching the Tremor sequels at this point, because they're actually doing a good job at trying to at least make okay movies. Whereas the Critters aren't. The Critters are just, they're throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks, quite frankly. And unfortunately, it really didn't stick here. This was a bad movie. 3 out of 10. 3. I gave it a 3 just because it was the third one, why not? Terrifier. I've heard so much about these 2 films because of how gory they are and stuff. And this Art the Clown. I was quite looking forward to it. They look cool. I know they're very low budget. I went into it expecting them not to look amazing or not be shot brilliantly and not to be acted well and not to have great dialogue. And don't get me wrong, I was correct on all fronts there. But I didn't expect it to be just what it was, and what it was just a load of nothing, to be honest. It was just a load of, yeah, this clown just goes about killing people, but there's no actual idea behind the story. Like, you know, there are just characters which are wandering into scenes, wandering into this place where he is, and he kills them. And it's like, doesn't feel like there's much purpose to anything that's happening. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it is, because the final film we're going to talk about today, I did just want to see this thing attack people, and we'll get onto that film. I don't want to spoil what it is, but it just felt so empty and pointless, this movie, and the gore was so over the top. It looked so fake. Terrifier was a huge disappointment. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 10. I thought it was actually quite bad, and I'm not sure if I'm even going to bother with the second one at the minute. Then we got We Have a Ghost, Netflix film, starring David Harbour, Anthony Mackie. And this was such a weird movie, man. Like, the effects were so bad on David Harbour, but then at the end I kind of got it. I was like, oh, they were meant to look like this the whole time, and it kind of works now. But at the start of the film, I really wasn't connecting with it. The character work's really weird. And also the film has a huge identity crisis. At the start, it's paranormal. It's like kind of a little bit spooky, like there's something in the house. Then it's we're going to make friends with the ghost. Then it's we're going to become super famous with the ghost. Then we're going to go full E.T. mode with the ghost. You know, have him get captured and we've got to break him out. And then it's an action film at the end. The film just goes through every genre, I think. It doesn't tap into a love story too much, but it goes through so many genres. By the end, you got a bit of a headache, like, what was I meant to watch here? But it has some heart to it. The ending was okay. 6 out of 10. And in the last film I watched, I've seen this twice in the cinema now, Cocaine Bear. I've seen it twice because I went with 2 different people. It wasn't a great movie. I just didn't want someone to miss out on the movie, so I went again. And yeah, this is my example of this film here. I actually did just want to see the bear keep killing people. But this one done the opposite. It focused way too much on the characters and way too much on this drug bust story and then this mum trying to find her daughter. It was like, please show the bear on cocaine. And again, I don't go to these films for this. I don't go to these films for great dialogue or great cinematography or anything like that. I go to these films to see a bear kill cocaine. But the dialogue was particularly horrific in this one. And some of the acting was also really rocky. But you can have fun with this one. I had fun with it. It's definitely a switch-off movie. There's some entertaining moments to it. But yeah, it is what it is. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I've got to pick film of the month now. And to be honest, guys, it wasn't the best month for me of films. I watched a lot, but there was a lot of bad there. But the one that I am going to give film of the month to... I know I gave The Fabelmans the highest score here. And it is on a technical level definitely the best film I've seen, I think. But I'm going to give it to The Great Gatsby. Purely because I can see myself coming back to this film a lot. And it really fits my style. And I'm already excited to see it again. So yeah, The Great Gatsby is my film of the month. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching as always. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And as always, I will see you all next time for another video. Bye-bye.